Hey, Fran, thanks for joining us on the 21 for 21 podcast.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here.
Do you want to just quickly sort of tell us a bit about your work, what you do? You work for MotoGP, but you seem to do a variety of things. What's kind of an average day or week in Fran's life
I
with
do, yeah.
MotoGP?
Well, I mean, the main thing that I do is all of the press for Dorna Sports, which is a company that is like the sole rights holder for MotoGP and basically kind of the 360 event management philosophy of Dorna. So the majority of the championship is run by the company, and I do most of the press for MotoGP. And then we also have the Road to MotoGP, which is talent cups designed to give those younger riders a chance to kind of get the next steps in their career so that we have a nice diverse talent pool at the top. So yeah, that, and then I also do the official MotoGP podcast, Last on the Brakes, #plug, as well as a few things like pit lane reporting for Moto E, which is our electric series. Yeah, a couple of other bits and bobs really. If there's something where someone needs to go and do something, it'll often be me.
That's quite that's quite a varied role, though. There's a lot going on there.
It's been a good spicy season so far for me, with lots of variety, different things to do. So yeah,
that's good. So I invited you on today because we are talking about NFTs and fan tokens, and on the 13th of August, MotoGP launched their official fan token through BitKey.
I believe, unfortunately,
it's
the proper
Bitchy.
pronunciation is Bitchy. Yes,
that's a shame.
We had to go through the full press conferences with the Bitchy Motorrad Grand Prix van Oostenrijk. So yes, it's Bitchy, which is based in Turkey. Hence, the pronunciation is a little bit more of a challenge for us from the north. But yeah, the official MotoGP fan token, and they sold out rather quickly as well.
Yeah, so I believe. And they were the title sponsors of the Austrian Grand Prix?
They were indeed, yeah. And they're now the official cryptocurrency trading partner and fan token partner of MotoGP as well. Okay. So you'll see the brand continue to be beside the track at most of the events on the calendar, I think.
Okay, and it's not just MotoGP, they're also the official partners of Motocross.
There's a few more. There's a lot of football clubs as well.
Yeah, I want to say Spezia and Levante, I think.
There was a funny one when I looked as well that was something extremely British, but I can't remember which team it was, and it was the first one that came up on the page.
It's Wolves, I think.
Yeah, it might be actually, yeah.
and also the women's basketball, the FIBA.
Yes, this is true. And I think they're also partnered with McLaren in Formula One.
So there you go. I didn't know that one.
I think so. It's Bitchy. Because they're quite an orange brand, and so are McLaren, so that's a good partnership.
Makes sense. That would make sense. So Bitchy are the fan token of MotoGP, the competition, not just a particular team.
Yeah, they are indeed. The whole championship. So essentially, the MotoGP brand is partnered with Bitchy.
Okay. And what does that mean then for the MotoGP brand, other than them kind of being, and I guess they're one of the first early competitions to do this. Other competitions seem to be following on. La Liga was a little bit later. They just announced theirs recently. So what does it kind of mean for a brand to partner with a cryptocurrency, as it were?
Well, I think it's obviously something that's super popular now. And with anything like this, especially a company like Dorna, where, like I said, that 360 event management philosophy, genuinely, it's not just sort of we own the TV rights and we will sell you them for this price. It's extremely hands-on with so many different things, and that includes the commercial and marketing aspects of it as well. So with things like this, of course, when there is kind of this surge forward in interest from fans and from like the business world as a whole, you always want to be surfing that wave rather than trying to chase it. So I think certainly that's one of those things. Like I said, there's a lot of crypto popping up in different places now. But to start with the fan token as well, because we also have NFTs that we launched a little bit earlier with Animoca Brands. That was the partner there. But the fan token certainly is kind of the first of its kind from a championship such as MotoGP. So quite an exciting one.
Okay, so I'm lost the thread a little bit then, I guess. I thought that the two were the same. So you've got an NFT and an official fan token.
Yeah, it's the Animoca Brands as the partner doing the NFTs. I think it's on the Flow blockchain, which are sort of based more around collectibles of riders and teams. And then we also have, the MotoGP Fan Token itself, which is obviously the cryptocurrency, and then Bitchi are the cryptocurrency trading partner of the championship.
So obviously the big thing for this is, what does it mean for the fans? It's all good and well a competition having a fan token or NFT, but nothing happens unless the fans buy into them. So what does it offer the fans? What does it mean for the fans?
Well, it's pretty cool, I think, with seeing how quickly they sold as well. So there's obviously a lot of fan interest, and with cryptocurrency being such a kind of, I don't know what else to call it other than like a big deal, but there's probably a better, more technical term. But it is obviously such a kind of key thing for so many businesses and brands at the moment. I'm sure it will continue to be in the future. I think we saw as well, which country was it in Central America, I think, started using Bitcoin as official currency recently.
Yeah.
So
I can't tell you
it's
which one
really
it was.
I can't remember either. Very sorry to whichever nation.
And there are some companies as well that will accept Bitcoin payments and things.
Exactly. So it's like, really gaining some traction. And yeah, I think so. Obviously, giving fans the opportunity to kind of maybe dabble in that if they haven't before, but also with a brand that they know and they can trust, and that they love as well, because obviously the value, once they're all sold and then kind of it's open to buy and sell them, that depends on fan interest, and having seen how high it is already as well, it should be an interesting one once they are able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And then I just want to know, you as a sports fan, as a sports broadcaster, press officer, everything that you do, what are your kind of thoughts on this wave of fan tokens and NFTs that are being launched across the entire sector? Really, like, there's a lot of competitions now that are connected with a token or another.
There is. I think I like the competitive element, especially. Like, I think it will be interesting in the future. As we said, McLaren are a partner of Bitchi. Be interesting if you have all the teams within a competition have their separate kind of ones, to add to that competitive edge. But in terms of championships and stuff, I think it is important for every sport or brand to retain and build on their relevance always. And that may not always be exactly what the original kind of soul of that brand was, because the world moves so quickly, and being relevant doesn't have to be being kind of superficial or anything negative at all, but it's important to always take stock of everything that you're competing with to get people's attention, which is obviously the way that you kind of survive as anything, as a sport or a TV show or anything at all. If no one's watching you, then you're gonna not exist very long. So I think it's important to follow that. And I think it's also quite cool when you do give fans like something extra that they can interact with the sport with, if they, first of all, if it's people who can't come to an event or to a race in our case for any reason, or if it's people that don't want to buy a t-shirt or do XYZ, if their interest is already in that area and it's something they love, then it's another avenue for them to still be able to connect with the sport as well.
Yeah, nice. That's a really, I think, nice rounding up of what that those coins and NFTs mean to sports and to fans. Yeah, and I think
it can be quite cool, because one thing for me, certainly, I'm not big into it in my personal life, but I do get a lot of the attraction in some ways, because I do like kind of having things and collecting them, but I don't like having physical copies or things that I can't physically
NFTs
move
are perfect for you then.
I know, this is the problem. It's like I had so many CDs when I was a teenager, and now it's actually a miracle that I can just hold all of that music in my hands. So I mean, I get that, but I think it's an interesting and quite a scary world at times. But certainly is something that should be expected of any brand or sport that's kind of really paying attention to the world, given how big it is at the moment.
Yeah, I saw something recently actually that said NFTs are the answer to the avid collector whose wife or husband say, "Where are you going to put all this stuff?" And that was kind of
this is true.
Yeah.
This is true. But yeah, obviously it does fall down with some things. I've seen some rather extreme takes online as well, where you're like, well, the real thing is no different to the NFT version because this. And it's like, that's not really true if it's, for example, a piano, because the value you get from something like that is from your physical interaction with it. But it is an interesting one, certainly. I guess it depends what you like. But yeah, for those collectors who maybe don't have 70 spare rooms, also an extra prayer answered.
And even if you're not a collector, it's having a stake in something that you believe in and love.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of putting your power behind something that you like, and then whatever it is that you do like and support, obviously they gain from that. So it's another nice kind of thing.
Yeah,
because I think it's easy to sound quite cold with a lot of things in business and sport, especially because sport is a business, but it is also something more than a standard Wall Street checks and balances kind of business, because there is genuine passion from the vast majority of people who work in it. A lot of people who own teams, championships, everything else, like they do so for a reason. So I think that part of it is nice as well, to kind of make that bond a little bit stronger and kind of put your value behind their value.
nice. That's really good. I want to just go back to the comment you said about the competitiveness, where
Feel free.
you said about like different teams competing and the value of the currency sort of changing. Is that kind of what you were getting at?
Kind of, yeah. It could be an interesting one. I'm not sure in what way, but certainly because it's a little bit different within MotoGP, obviously it's the championship. Whereas in Formula One, it's been teams as well.
So yeah, so there are Formula One teams with socios as well, I think, which is another fan token platform or currency. But they have a lot of big football teams. They've got Manchester City, I think they've got Paris Saint-Germain, they've got Barcelona, they've got I can't remember any more of them, but a lot of the really big teams that are competing on the European stage are with socios, and they have their own exchange. And you could see as one team was doing, better in the competition, or one team got knocked out, the kind of the sell-off of those tokens, and obviously the knock-on effect on the value of them, did kind of go in line with the competition. And that was quite interesting to watch as well.
I think it is interesting. It's also interesting because it's not just like stocks and shares. And it's kind of a way to kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say play at it, because that's not what it is, because it's equally as serious.
It's still real money, but
but it's its own kind of specific space where your interest is solely in the tokens that you have, rather than kind of on a wider scale, really, if you are talking about sports teams and things like that.
And I think that the barriers to access are kind of seemingly lower. Although maybe not in reality, actually, but it does seem like anyone can sign up and start trading fan tokens.
I think it is pretty easy, but I think as well, because so many like people of our age have images of like the generation behind us, but I think they are like, I still remember life when the internet was dial-up and you had to wait and be patient and listen to the little song it would play you before it would load a page for 2.5 minutes.
And hope that nobody called your house whilst you were surfing.
It was no terrible family emergency, because nope, I'm gonna look at this one page for 7 hours. But yeah, so obviously we have the benefit of that, plus the benefit of having been a good age group to kind of move along as the world has. But people who are coming behind us as well, I think you're gonna naturally have more of an affinity for things like cryptocurrency, where it doesn't seem like something that's alien to you or a different world, whereas maybe stocks and shares and that kind of very 80s Reagan era Wall Street thing that I think a lot of people can think of initially, that's a completely different world to probably your reality, which is like Instagram, TikTok, the internet, and everything's online.
Yeah, and never having owned CDs or physical music or physical or DVDs, or
like,
it's everything's virtual.
Yeah, it's true, actually. I'd not thought about that angle before. Yeah, they already used to everything being quite virtual, so it's no different in their minds, maybe.
Do you think that's the next step for MotoGP then, is that each team will get their own fan token? Sort of Repsol Honda will launch theirs, KTM will launch another one.
I'm sure it'd be interesting to see.
Because that's happened in Formula One.
Obviously, Yeah, exactly. And we saw obviously the MotoGP branded fan token was such a huge success as well. It sold out so quickly. Because I was refreshing that from my office in Austria, just watching it. I was like, I'm quite impressed here. It's really going quickly.
Well,
So yeah, maybe it will convince them to follow it as well.
am I right thinking they started at 30 cents, the MotoGP fan token?
I think so.
I read,
Cents. I
or
think they were.
euros, yeah, 30 European cents. I vaguely remember seeing that in the article.
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember now. I don't know. This is one of those problems where you have conversations with people before you publish a thing, and you're like, which part of it was the truth that was written down and published, and which part was part of the kind of behind the scenes chat beforehand. But yeah, I think they were 30 cents. It's certainly super affordable as well, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like, yeah, one MotoGP fan token is going to set you back an entire day at work. It's something where everyone can get a foot in the door.
And that again is that kind of the barriers being low to, you know, for people to get involved.
Yeah,
you know, for a couple of euros, you can get yourself a handful of MotoGP bitchy fan tokens.
Exactly. And then the world is your oyster.
Potentially.
I was like, I don't know what else phrase to use that doesn't make me sound like I'm 60, but more or less.
That's great. Thank you very much, Fran, for coming on and talking about the MotoGP fan token. I think that's been really interesting to have that kind of perspective from a sport. So
You're very welcome.